Let's now discuss how market velocity can help structure your trades. Now, let's start off with an analogy. A Formula One driver is going to be shifting his gears in different ways when he's approaching bends as opposed to straights. When he's going around bends, he's going to be shifting his gears down from 5 to 4 to 3. As he rounds the bend and he finds a really strong and powerful straight for the next 2 miles, he's going to be shifting into 5th gear as quickly as possible, getting the rev count up as quickly as possible in order to really flatline and optimize his time. And it's the same by judging the corners and the bends in the marketplace, by judging the obstacles of different types of order strategies and execution strategies that are going on in the market. So really key and critically important that the ability to judge the market environment and the velocity that's going through the order book, the auctioning activity, the speed of orders is really going to help determine how you're going to structure your trades. So you really have to reconcile the technical landscape with the level of market velocity, and thus the conviction of your trades. So again, this is so important to understand. Is you can have some great technical trend lines, and when the market breaches that technical trend line, and until that trend line is breached with great order velocity and activity, are you going to start committing to that market? You can have a trend line break, but all that happens is a couple of stops go off and just buyers are being pulled if it's a trend line break towards the downside, but if it's not being met by increase in auctioning activity, or there's just someone on the buy side absorbing all the new orders, well then you're able to not only get out of your original short, but potentially turn your position around and go for the buy side, because you know there are potentially some trapped sellers on this trade, and it's the speed of orders that are going through and whether there is someone on the other side of the trade is really important. So understanding the velocity landscape determine the level of engagement. So when there's a lot of order speed going through, and like we discussed in the previous video of what that really looks like, it's going to determine the level of engagement between buyers and sellers, and if there is engagement from the buyers and sellers. And we'll be looking at this throughout the entire program and course when we look at all our various types of trading strategies. And it's the ability not to be mispresented by the charts, and the juiciness of the chart effectively you can identify early charting traps such as ledges. One of a classic play that I've always enjoyed on the market profile is when you have a very heavy profile top, you're looking to buy into it very aggressively. I mean, I at times, if I get the right market velocity environment towards a ledge, I will look for only 3 or 4 tick break, but I'll be doing it with my max clip, because the probability of those 4 ticks happening, if you time it appropriately, for me, out of all the times I traded, is 95%. So out of those times, I have to make sure I expose as much size. Even though I'm only looking for 3 or 4 ticks, I want to do it with as large a size as I can, as opposed to some people look at conviction of how far a market can go. I'll tell you a story of one of my very good friends, an incredible Eurostox trader who used to trade and get away anything between 2,000 to 4,000 lots in the market. And about 8-9 years ago, I remember a whole bunch of us were walking past him during lunchtime. And lunchtimes are known where the market becomes lethargic and becomes really tired. And we walked past his desk and we noticed that he had a 3,000 lot in the Eurostox. And we said, "Man, like, what's going on here? This is why you've got so much size. There's nothing really happening. There's nothing going on, and you're really exposing yourself." And he said, "No." He said, "I know I've got a 98% chance of making 1 tick on this trade. So therefore, if he felt he had a 90% chance of making 1 tick on this trade, he would put as much leverage and his max clip on the trade. Because if he does that, if he does that 10 times, he knows what he's going to be up. And it's the same with the great front-run trading strategies. And we look at that module a little bit later, where some traders really on thick, heavy markets, when they see a large order in the order book, they're only looking for 1 tick, but highly leveraged with their size. So really important. But now, if a chart is showing you a beautiful ledge and you wanting to buy it with great momentum, but the velocity is not there, it starts approaching that level with with no activity becomes really slow and maybe even takes out the high, but with no activity, you're not going to be exposing yourself as much because the market is not showing you the right activity. It's showing you a lethargic action. It's showing you there's no one around in the neighborhood to engage with, to buy or sell with, and therefore what happens with that is that the market starts dripping back down. And if you go in with max clip without the right market environment, you're really going to expose yourself and expose your risk to a quick unraveling of the market to the downside. And we see that so often when a market breaks with no velocity, how quickly it can unravel towards the downside as so-called chart buyers having to start liquidate the positions after a so-called technical break.